Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to Adam for your leadership and for stepping into this role at a critical moment. We're so grateful for you, and it's been fun to get to know you in this role and see how having someone who gets it from having lived it and being in the middle of all that this job entails makes such a difference in helping all of us think through what we need to do collectively. I am also thrilled to be with the leadership, technically outgoing and also incoming and overlapping of all those who have somehow found a way on top of all of the responsibilities of running and managing our municipalities to invest in how we can all learn from each other. And so I'll continue to say I believe this gathering is the most important for keeping our communities, our governments, our democracy going, especially in this moment. Everything is falling to cities and towns. Every challenge from gridlock, every bit of paralysis from the federal government, every stress when it comes to our democracy and the needs that aren't being met through policy are things that we hear about when you're going grocery shopping, when you're out and about, when you're walking around your neighborhood. And what I love most about city government is that we can't stay stuck in the clouds. Of course, there are big issues that we're coming together on, and I'm so excited that there will be a focus on climate even later today, and this is really where we can collectively shape the future of our society. But we can't ever stay at that level of 30,000 feet up in the air because our residents have urgent needs that they're looking to us to solve right now. I've been reflecting on that quite a bit as we enter a very historic moment for the entire Commonwealth. How many folks were at the 250th for the Boston Tea Party? I got to see a few hands in the room. I was there. I couldn't see any of it because there was such thick crowds and everyone was pressed up against the edge of the barriers to the harbor. And so I had one kid on my shoulder, so at least he could see, and then my husband had the other one up on his shoulders. But standing in that moment as the reenactors were going through all of the steps that had led up to actually dumping the tea into the harbor, the crowd was getting quite into it. You felt like we were right there and things were about to go down. And it's just a reminder that so many of the themes that Massachusetts and Boston and our entire Commonwealth really became known for around the world in steering our brand new country in a new direction, so many of those themes are still very relevant today, very pressing in terms of who has a voice, who is heard, who counts, and are we making the right decisions to secure the best iteration of freedom and justice and prosperity for generations to come. And so the work that we do now, I think is in a special moment. And I like to brag all the time about Boston and how the many spots in our city are a nod back to really feeling that connection with history. But of course, we know that represented even in your leadership here, the president of MMA, Jill Heey, is representing a place that's going to get a lot of attention over this next 250th year, Lexington, and Lexington and Concord being so important in this year's celebration. Our incoming current vice president and incoming, well, we'll see, but I think it's going to go pretty well. Waltham City Council President John McLaughlin, representing Waltham, where the Waltham Watch Factory helped pave the way for the Industrial Revolution. Springfield, where I'm excited for, knock on wood, some potentially duck boats to get going later in the year. Springfield, where basketball was invented. Fitchburg, where in the 1800s residents opened their doors to the abolitionist movement, offering their homes as stops on the Underground Railroad. The rich labor organizing history of Lawrence and North Adams. All across Massachusetts, every community, there's some way that we contributed to where we are in the course of history today, and that we have a very strong role to keep pushing and making sure that we are shaping that best future for our kids and their kids. We've demonstrated in Massachusetts just what happens when we come together and really face head-on the challenges that our communities are facing. I know Arlington and Brookline recently made some big zoning changes, and so we're very grateful for them for setting a template for how we can all produce more housing across the entire region. And as the flooding that so many of us are experiencing on far too regular a basis now continues to remind us about the urgency that we need to act to protect our communities, I want to thank the MMA for continuing to highlight this as a place where cities and towns must get involved and can lead. In Boston, we're trying to ban third-party electrical suppliers who target and overcharge our low-income residents, seniors, and residents of color. We're working to protect our coastline in coordination with so many of you all. And next week, we're launching our first geothermal district for Boston in the heart of one of our largest public housing communities at Franklin Field, partnering with National Grid. And so we're going to continue to try every possible way to show the world how we can keep moving forward, and we have to do that together. I'm so grateful for all that you do on a daily basis, and that you're taking the time to come and invest in our space to learn from each other. Thank you, and have a great day.
Well, good morning. It's great to be with all of you. But there's somebody who I really need to be with now, and that is our fabulous, Kim, come on up, our fabulous Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll. Come on up. So happy Friday. Happy Friday. Let's hope for no rain, no snow this weekend. We want you to enjoy your time here the next couple of days. Many thanks to Jill, and congratulations on a really successful presidency. It's been great to work with you on so much. And congratulations as well to John. We look forward to working with you as you take over. And to Adam and the team at MMA, thank you for all your hard work. To all of our mayors and city councilors and town managers, administrators, select board members, finance committee members, staff, all of you, just thank you big time for the work that you do every single day. We know how hard these jobs are, especially in these times. And the work you do to actually deliver services, relief to folks is just so important. That's what it's about, you know, and we're here as state partners. We want to do all we can to support from the state level, but we know that everything that we want to do and have goals for and a vision for, all of that depends on what you all are doing in your communities and how well we're doing working with and supporting all of you. So we wanted to come this morning. I know it's a little unusual maybe, but we're a little unusual. And the great thing, we're a lot unusual. But I think it's, we're really pleased with the year we had, okay? We came in, we made a bunch of promises. There were a lot of things that we wanted to do. We're grateful to our teams. We're grateful to everybody who worked in partnership with us, including so many of you and your teams. It's also the case that we face real challenges. And a lot of the funding that everybody had for a few years is going away or has gone away, right? We still have revenue growth, but it's not at the rate that it's been. So we recognize that there are real challenges for all of us. But I think if we work together, we communicate, it's going to be about making smart decisions, right? Not how much money we spend, but how we spend it, where we spend it. And we just, we're going to need to work together over the next year, and I know we'll be able to do great things. So we thought we'd talk about a few things. The first thing is a budget. The budget that I'll file next week will once again include historic investments in municipalities. We're going to increase unrestricted government aid by 3%, which is above consensus revenue. We're going to fully fund, once again, the Student Opportunity Act, including, importantly, $15 million for rural communities. And we're going to put $6 million into our Community Compact program, which will be a tripling of the funding which will help all of you implement best practices and regionalization initiatives that I know so many of you want to get after. In addition, we know you all have workforce challenges, and the ability to recruit, to land great talent on your teams is so, so important. So we're going to put $500,000 in to sustain the Local Finance Commonwealth Fellowship Program. We're also going to invest another $500,000 to launch a new program focused on generating a pipeline of qualified people for high-demand municipal positions. And we're looking forward to doing that with a program that will be run by the Collins Center at UMass Boston in consultation with our administration, Labor and Workforce Development, and the Commonwealth Corporation. So that's a little bit on the numbers.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Want to talk about other
let's
good
talk
stuff?
about some more.
Yeah.
You all can see why I'm so lucky to work along somebody who fully understands that we're not going to achieve our goals in housing and education and public safety and resilience and driving a strong economy unless we have cities and towns who are thriving. I'm so grateful to be able to work every single day, going to that State House, knowing that we are working in service to what's happening on the ground in our communities. And that's due to having a governor who fully empowers and recognizes that. And you're going to be very happy in a few minutes when I talk about some of the other goals that we have as part of our municipal empowerment bill. But I just want to say thank you, Governor, not only for being here, for recognizing the work that goes on, and for not just talking about it, but actually leaning in and ensuring that we're going to have the tools and resources at the local level. So let's get to it.
Yeah,
We're going to do some Thelma and Louise work up here, I think.
We got this.
So for Chapter 90, the bread and butter.
We're not going over a cliff, though.
All right. Maybe we'll do more like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Parks and right.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec fans, real life. So look, we've got big investments in Chapter 90. We want to make sure that bread and butter of fixing our roads, sidewalks, having the equipment you need is there. So we're going to be putting forward a $400 million proposal for filing for a 2-year authorization for Chapter 90 dollars. So vital to making sure that we're building more resilient roadways, but tackling those things that we know residents really care about. The FY25 budget proposal also provides $100 million in supplemental Chapter 90 funding through the fair share to ensure we get those local roads taken care of. And because we know the formula has some challenges, we've got $24 million for rural road aid. That's going to be the first time investment in rural roads specifically for our tiny towns and smaller communities. Want to keep going? All right. So we know through our municipal listening sessions that we've held, there's a number of areas that we thought we could tackle. Some of those are housekeeping issues, areas where sometimes state government gets in the way, or a regulation that we have makes it a little bit harder to do the work that we're doing every day in cities and town halls. And we also know from those meetings that resources have been really tricky for cities and towns to manage, making it more difficult with the same challenges that all of us are facing in our households, rising cost, worker increases that are necessary, making it a little bit more difficult to do all the work, the imperative that we know we have to do in communities, keeping neighborhoods safe, investing in kids and education, ensuring that we've got places that are well maintained, parks, beaches, downtown squares. And as a result of that, we're pleased to announce today that next week, along with the FY25 budget and our Chapter 90 proposal, we'll be filing a significant package of reforms to strengthen local government known as the Municipal Empowerment Act. It's designed, we can clap for municipal empowerment. Let's say a little bit more about it. It's designed to arm local government with the resources, the tools, and the flexibilities we need locally to try and meet this moment. It's going to make it easier to generate resources locally, and it's going to make it easier to access the products that you can, the production and the people that you need to serve your residents. This is a packet of really great things. I'm super excited to be a part of this effort, and I know that it wouldn't have happened without the governor's support and really recognizing that we've got to be able to deliver more for our community. So let's start with the list.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kim. And I want to say, you know, this was put together after a series of listening sessions around the state, and you led those, and I think many of you participated in those listening sessions. I don't know how many you did. You just a dozen all over the state this year. And the goal was, let's put forward municipal reform that meets this moment that we're in. So I just want to thank not only the Lieutenant Governor for her leadership in convening those sessions, but also all of you for participating in those sessions, because honestly, excuse me, I'm still hoarse from the other night. What we're going to talk about now is a direct result of those conversations. So this is your bill. We started with this idea we want to strengthen fiscal and staffing stability, and that involves a few things. One of those things is creating a new property tax exemption for seniors. We know we wanted to allow seniors in towns to adopt a new senior means tested property tax exemption for qualifying seniors. We want to increase existing senior property tax exemptions, the clause exemptions. It also will add an option to provide an annual cost of living adjustment to help combat the effects of inflation, especially for our seniors and others who qualify for locally adopted abatements. So that's one thing. We also wanted to address long-term benefit funding pressures. The bill will establish a new OPEB commission to take a fresh look at opportunities. Is that the best way we say it?
OPEB.
I mean, honestly. That's why she's here. So we're going to get a new OPEB commission. And that commission is going to take a look at all the opportunities we have to address unfunded liabilities, favorite topic, from non-pension employee benefits. We also are going to increase the local lodging tax ceiling from 6% to 7%. Increase the local meals tax ceiling, again, from 0.75% to 1%, and add a 5% local option for motor vehicle excise surcharges.
Just going to pause us right there. So I just want to make sure everybody understood what we said. By local option, you're going to be able to increase revenues in your community, or if you choose, in your city or town, on meals taxes, on hotel motel taxes, and for the first time that I can ever remember in 20 years, we're going to adjust that motor vehicle excise allocation in a way that's going to deliver real dollars for the needs that you have at the local level. Pretty significant revenue stream. All right. So there's a few other goodies in here that I think people will really appreciate. We're going to allow the creation of regional boards of assessors. We know these assessing positions have been really hard to fill. Sometimes for smaller communities it makes a lot of sense. Many of you are already doing this in terms of trying to share assessors, mostly because you have to, because you can't find somebody qualified. We're going to make that an easier pathway to connect those areas. And I want to also put an exclamation point on some of the funding that's going in and investing in workforce. The programs that were talked about, using the UMass Collins Center, providing tuition reimbursement and student support to ensure that those procurement officers, treasurers, collectors, deputy finance directors, that we've got a pathway for that. Please participate in those programs. Those are the jobs that are going to be sitting in these seats later, and we're going to make investments to ensure that young adults who are in higher ed have an opportunity to enjoy a really great profession in public service and make that a pathway that's real, and hopefully get some of these positions filled. We heard a lot about workforce challenges in the municipal listening sessions. We want to make sure we're making it easier to create flexibility and empowering local leaders when it comes to local liquor licenses. Right now, we know if you're at your quota, you've got to go to the State House. That can be difficult if you want to invest in a downtown. We're going to find an easier pathway. This has been filed in the past, and this is an area that we know is important to local leaders. We're going to make procurement of COVID-era public meeting, dining, and liquor flexibilities permanent so that we're not waiting every year. These were pretty popular during COVID, and whether or not we can move forward now will be permanent so that we're not on pins and needles every year trying to understand, are we going to be able to keep doing what we're doing. This Municipal Power Act will make these very popular COVID-era flexibilities permanent. We heard a lot about procurement laws that exist and some of the housekeeping we need to do to make Chapter 30B work. So enabling cities and towns to award multiple contracts through the RFP process in both purchase, supplies, and services, collectively bid. We're going to make that runway easier. Equalizing 30B thresholds for advertised procurements to 100,000 for all municipal purchasing. That's also something that we know is important. It only exists for the schools right now. Eliminating the requirements to publish notices of invitations in combis, making that a little bit easier. Look at the excitement here, I know. You know who's really doing the procurement by who's clapping. I'm just going to say that right now. And then strengthening and streamlining procurement for electric school buses and the infrastructure to support those. We know that's also a challenge right now. You've got both 30B and 149. And then the governor's personal favorite.
Oh, yeah. I am announcing here this morning that we are going to address double polls. She told me you guys would like that. No, seriously, we're going to allow enforcement with penalties of the statutory prohibition keeping double polls up after 90 days. Seriously.
Big.
Seriously. Because we know there hasn't been an enforcement mechanism for these violations, and we've got public safety and aesthetic concerns as a result. So I just wanted to announce that here this morning. We'll also establish a central valuation of telecom and utility property. The assessment of certain types of personal property is currently, as you know, complicated and requires the hiring of costly valuation experts. So our DLS within the Department of Revenue, of course, is already working on some of this. They value telephone and oil and natural gas pipelines, so extending this to all of telecom makes sense to us. And finally, we're going to update borrowing rules for school projects. This legislation will increase from 30 years to 40 the bond term for school projects so that costs are realized in a manner that more closely reflects the life expectancy of a project. So those are just some things that we wanted to share with you today. Is there anything else?
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. Well, the Federal Funds Office, that's a good point. You know, I said this the other night, but I want to make sure you know this and hear this so that you're able to take advantage of this. There's a lot of federal funding out there, and there's a competition between states and municipalities for that money. So when we started, we said we are going to put together a team to make sure we are chasing every single last federal dollar and maximizing everything that we can to bring back to the state and to municipalities. We set up a federal funds office. We appointed a director and a team. We've worked hard with our agencies to make sure they're submitting the best applications possible. We worked hard and are working hard and invite all of you to continue to work with us, communities, and submitting great applications. And it's paid off. 1 year alone, through that effort, we've brought back $3 billion to Massachusetts. Federal funding. So Roger Burnell is here today and tomorrow, as well as Quentin Palfrey, who you'll hear from, who's our director. But get a chance to know folks and know that we want to work with you. It's a great tool. It's a great tool and can bring great benefit. I will close before turning it over to the Lieutenant Governor by just saying that I really appreciate everything that you do. As some of you know, I grew up in a town of 1,200, now 1,800 people. My dad was a selectman. My stepdad is currently a selectman. My mom tried to be a selectman but lost, even though she's the best politician in the family. And they're all super engaged in so many of the boards and committees that you've been engaged in or are currently engaged in. So, you know, I do bring that perspective, though I've lived in the big city of Boston for a good number of years now. Know that we share a commitment to making sure that each and every one of our great 351 cities and towns has the opportunity to be all that they can be for their residents. And I know with a group in this room, all of us working together, we can make that happen. I do want to turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor for the final comment, and just to reiterate how personally grateful I am, how meaningful it's been to me to be able to work with Kim and her insight and her knowledge operationally about how everything works, what you all are dealing with. That influences and informs policy out of every single secretariat every single day. So I want to thank you for your incredible tenacity, your hustle, your compassion and your care for our communities and those who serve. and it's been an honor to work with you. And year two's going to get tougher, but I couldn't have a better teammate and partner than Kim Driscoll.
Thanks, Gov. Thank you, Governor. You can tell we don't like each other. We don't really work together well. This isn't working out. Not true at all. I'm honored, and really it's a great privilege to be in this role with somebody that you like, you respect, you admire, who we work together really well. And it matters when you're trying to do important work, and we are trying to do important work in service to communities in a place that doesn't just settle. We want to get better every day. So I've got two asks, and then I'm going to get off this stage. One is, like, that municipal empowerment bill is important. There's lots of things in there we've been talking about for a long time that's now in language and will be filed next week. It doesn't happen unless we advocate for it. We come together to really showcase how meaningful it is, how important it is. So please, it's great to clap today, but we're going to need your help to get it over the goal line. And two, I'm wearing a button, the governor's wearing a button for our Affordable Homes Act. We testified yesterday together about the importance of growing housing in our community, of how we can be a better partner to communities to do that, and the cost of not doing that. We'll be taking some pictures later. We've got lots of buttons. Anyone who's already on board and signed up for this Affordable Homes Act, please let your legislator know it's got a path and a journey. It is so critical for our workforce, for the people that we know and love and support, that we have housing in communities that meets those demands. So hang with us on that. Make sure you're engaged and active on that. And for things that aren't working, let us know too. Growth can be tricky in communities. I know that. I've got the scars on my back to prove it. But we know together, by working with communities, we can build the sort of commonwealth, and frankly, at the ground level, that really makes a huge difference in the quality of life. And where people live, where they work, where they go to school, where they visit, and most importantly, where they raise their family and age in place with dignity and respect. That's the work that you're doing. We're proud to be in partner with all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great conference. Got time for a quick selfie?
Yeah. I need one of those buttons.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Come on, get in here, Joe.